Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
He's heard from Odell since you made the catch.
Yeah, I talked to him literally on the bus to the plane. Him just, congratulating me. He was watching the game, and we was talking about all of the things that we're excited for in the future. And, he was just congratulating me and, being a big brother and supporting me.
All of the things that we're excited for in the future. Get the flag! Get the flag! Oh, boy. What did he mean? What did he mean?
Oh, I think you can read between the lines.
Hold your thoughts.
Hold your water.
We're gonna hold your water.
I think you can do.
We're gonna get to it here on this Feedback Friday. It's funny, a bunch of people want us to react to those interesting comments by JJ this week. This is Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment, where we just want the Vikings to win a darned Super Bowl before we die. And the show is presented in part by our friends at TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. And TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances. TCL brings you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Learn more at TCL.com. If OBJ does pick the Vikings sort of out of nowhere, what are you going to guzzle in celebration?
Speaking of joy and simplicity, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be guzzling the best beer around, and that, of course, is any of the products from our friends at Surly Brewing. That includes Logic Bomb, Furious. I could go down the list, or if OBJ signs, well, there's only going to be one Surly product on my table. That will be Before I Die. That's right, because it will move the mission for the 8-1 Vikings. It will move the mission along, and I'm going to tell you right now, this ride has been great fun, but can you imagine adding another receiver? There'd be only one way to celebrate, gentlemen, and that is with Surly, and in this case, a Before I Die from Surly.
Kirk Cousins would never throw an incompletion again. Just one-handed catches everywhere. You could throw a ball away on third down, just sail a ball out of bounds, and there'd just be a hand going up in the air.
Two of the greatest catches of all time. Those players would be combined, LSU brothers on one field.
In all due respect to OBJ's catch, there wasn't a defender grabbing the ball with two hands while he went up. I mean, my God.
I do love the one response that I absolutely love, though, that I've heard a few times is, well, if that defender hadn't been there, Jefferson couldn't have corralled that ball in. He caught the ball for Jefferson.
Okay, whatever.
No, but it's
who's saying that?
I saw that from a couple of folks that I guess didn't want to say that it was the greatest catch. But here's the point. The point is, yes, the guy had the ball, but to get it out of that guy's two hands with your one hand,
dude,
it's remarkable.
I don't know. I mean, there's always there's always outliers of people out there, but what is wrong with you if you're going to watch that play and do the but thing, right? Well, I don't know if this. No. Okay, let's get to Feedback Friday here on Purple Daily, where we turn the show over to your comments, questions, concerns, critiques, whatever it is. We do have Packer Vent Line as well on the show today. Just yet another embarrassing, devastating loss for the Pack. They now have 7 losses. The Vikings have 1. So we'll do that on the show today. You can always hit us up with your questions, comments, takes, whatever, theories, stories throughout the week. The best place to send them is the feedback tab on the SKOR North app. We just compile, and we try to get to as many as we can. If we don't read your comment or your question, keep submitting in the future. We hope we try to spread the love around and find comments from people that have never been featured before, too. So let's start with Skylar Parkhurst. My kids and spouse are sick, so I've been taking care of them all night. This is last night. I just got them to bed at 1:50 a.m. and just had this thought come into my head. So instead of getting some much-needed sleep, I'm going to email this to you guys. What if OBJ has inwardly decided that the winner of the game Sunday between the Vikings and the Cowboys will be who he signs with? We're getting a bunch of these. I'll read another one here from Kyle. He says, did JJ just let something slip with his comments there? talking about the things they're excited about for the future. He said he talked to him on the bus. We already heard that clip. I highly doubt they're talking about anything other than football when they talk about being excited for the future. So, were they talking about being excited for the future of playing together? What do you think he meant?
Now, first of all, those comments are wide open for interpretation, and they're juicy, and I love them. In fact, you know what? I would like to thank Justin. Not only are you certainly arguably right now the best receiver in the National Football League, but you are a member of the Reckless Speculation fan club.
Reckless speculation.
Justin Jefferson, come on down. Welcome aboard. All right, so I've been mulling this before the comment. I've been mulling this around because OBJ with the Vikings makes just a ton of sense. The Brian O'Neill cap room is there, so they have definitely restructured at least one contract in recent weeks. Hear me out on this. The leaks, okay, there have been several leaks, not surprising. And they've all clearly been from the OBJ camp, right? You got the Chiefs and the Bills, and they're like leaking teams, but it's clearly his people. So it's not like the teams are like, yeah, we talked to him for the most part. It is his folks. What if the Vikings have said, hey, we can't have this out. We don't want this out. Like there are some teams that are just very private and quiet and try and keep things because they're not going to tell people. And so if they told OBJ's camp, we can't have it out that we're talking to you. We don't want that out. Don't put it out there. So they're like leaking the Packers and Cowboys and stuff. And those teams, I don't know, they all might be legitimate candidates. But what if this is an 11th hour surprise forthcoming?
We've seen stranger things before.
It makes sense.
It does. And the landscape has changed quite a bit from, when he may have started ruminating on teams. I mean, hell, the Rams were in the mix like a month ago. Well, the Rams aren't. The Rams aren't making the Packers. Well, kind of. They're never actually in the mix for guys like OBJ, but they were being talked about.
Yes. And
so, does that game in the excitement and the momentum that the Vikings continue? Because there might have been some thought from OBJ too that the Vikings are off to a nice start, but let's see what they do with some road games coming up. Well, they go beat the Commanders. They go beat the Bills. What if they beat the Cowboys this weekend? He wants to win a championship, right? He's not, I don't think anyways, he's not out there just saying, hey, Colts, Jaguars, and Texans, if you got some extra cap space, or Bears or whatever, I'd love to just get the most money possible. He wants to get paid, but the list of teams that's floated out there, it's a list of the best teams in the NFL. It's the Chiefs, it was the Bills, the Cowboys. I think the Giants were being floated again because he already has a history there. Mm-hmm. I have no information or anything other than just like his comments being floated out there, but the Vikings make a ton of sense. Kevin O'Connell, similar offensive system to the one that he cashed in on last year, right? LSU friends. He's got a cohort in Justin Jefferson to make his life easy. He's not going to just be, in fact, he's going to be freed up to make plays down the field because Justin Jefferson has to be accounted for. So the only question, unless there's a living situation question, maybe he just wants to live in certain places. But if Buffalo was on his list, Buffalo, and quite frankly, Kansas City was on his list. And I like Kansas City.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about Miami and LA and New York here, okay? So the only hang-up would be if the Vikings just don't have enough cap space this year or next year based on other things they plan on doing too, right? Would it be a money hang-up? Because I don't think it's a football hang-up.
I think there is a chance that if a team that he deems to be extremely competitive and maybe a championship caliber team could come with a 2-year contract with some guarantees, he might take that first. But right now the question is this: how long is that list? And remember, the guy is coming off, this is not OBJ in his prime. He is coming off knee surgery, second time ACL. He's going to be back supposedly in December. But I mean, playing with Jefferson now helps a lot because you don't want to be thrust into, okay, now we need you. You are our top guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some questions on his part about Kirk, but Justin can, and O'Connell can probably vouch to those. And O'Connell's done a fantastic job of saying, I got Kirk. Don't worry about that, right? As far as I'm concerned, here's the thing. You call up the West and Radisson Blue, you say clear out the top penthouse floor for Odell Beckham Jr. He's going to be living there. Skyways, personal cars. You are never, you know what? Odell, your foot will never touch snow. We will put a carpet down wherever you go, a red carpet, so your foot will never touch snow.
Buffalo doesn't even have nice hotels, okay? It's just a bunch of Super 8s and
There's
wing
thunder
places.
snow.
Yeah, it's like 6 feet of snow are hitting Buffalo. They're playing a game. They're going 2010 Vikings and playing a game at Ford Field.
How about that? Come
I'm
on.
with you.
The Buffalo Bills are showing how soft they are, blowing a 17-point lead and then tapping out 3 days before a game on Sunday and going, halfway across the country. So soft. S-A-W-F-T. Soft.
This brings up. So the Vikings are doing a great job, but this brings up the subtle but key differences between a year like 2010 and 2022. The Vikings avoided this debacle by 1 week. The Vikings avoided this debacle. In 2010, they avoided no debacles. They were stuck in Philadelphia until Tuesday, and they got 7 inches of snow because they thought it was going to be this type of storm, right? So
didn't you and Tom Pelissero have to buy new clothes from the gift shop in the hotel room?
No, we went to a Modell's. I bought a Dave the Hammer Schultz jersey. Now, Collar and I a couple of years ago got stuck there and went and bought some really nice socks. I really enjoy those socks to this day.
That's good. Okay.
But anyway, this is the type of thing that the 2022 Vikings are avoiding. Because can you imagine now you're going to Detroit to play that game? It's just sort of a pain in the ass.
Yeah. No, I everything's coming up purple right now. Before we go any further here on Feedback Friday, I think we should hear from some depressed Packer fans. This is Packer Vent Line, courtesy of our friends on, I don't know, what station are we pulling these from? We'll find out here.
We'll find out here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're focusing the blame on the wrong spot. I think it should be blamed on Murphy and, excuse my pronunciation, Gutenhunser. They put Rodgers in an untenable position, or even LaFleur, who's in charge. And nobody's in charge, and it's showing up in the offense.
So drunk.
107.5 the fan. 107.5 the fan.
0.16 over under.
Over. Gotta be. That's at least a 0.2, right?
Pardon my pronunciation.
You know what's
Who's
funny?
in charge? Gutekunzer.
His point is pretty much spot on, but the way he got to it was like, dude, put down the Miller Lite.
No one's in charge because they don't have an owner. Is that what he was trying to say?
Yes. And Mark Murphy, who's the president, that's the thing is if the president thinks he knows football, which Murphy does because he played it, he becomes potentially dangerous.
Let's hear from some more sad Packer fans today.
Hey, I just want to say, Rodgers in the whole offense, it looks like me and my deer stand, just a whole lot of nothing. I mean, our receivers can't create space. We got nothing going on offense, and that really hurts us because then our defense got to be on there more time than anything, and I don't know, it just hurts, sucks.
Just like me and my deer stand.
Just like me, my jerky, and my Keystone or Milwaukee's Best, whatever
You know what
my
the problem
skunky 3 months expired Busch Light.
You know what the problem is? This team's been so good for so long that their post-game shows don't provide the necessary, in this case, SKOR North therapy. They have people begging for, and that's what we do, right? We try and help them.
And sometimes the hosts, I feel like, defend the team.
They do.
No, this team deserves to be destroyed for everything. They let Devontae Adams walk. They've let Aaron Rodgers be weird and indecisive for 3 years and then just give him ridiculous contract extensions. This team deserves to be savaged, but they just sit there and they protect because they feel like, my guess is if you're a Green Bay radio station or a Milwaukee radio station, if you go after the Packers, you feel like maybe you're going to alienate yourself from the only team that drives ratings or whatever it is. I don't know. It's a weird deal, man.
I think it's weird when hosts also in situations like that, and it's more probably of a radio thing is they act like they're doing the callers a favor by putting them on. And so it gets like oddly adversarial. It's like you guys are all on the same team. And the callers are helping drive your business. So you might want to treat them with an ounce of respect, but they're getting no therapy. This is going to be bad. It's going to create some bad situations.
Unlike Vikings Vent Line, the most fan-friendly interactive show in all of Minnesota sports, which you can find right after the Vikings and the Cowboys game is over on Sunday. Yes. All right. Plenty more where that came from, by the way. We're going to run even more Sad Packer fans on Mackie and Judd, our other daily podcast today. So go check that out. Okay, back to the feedback here from Southern Exile. How much stomach acid does the thought of Micah Parsons lining up across from Blake Brandel and Ed Ingram give you? I'm wondering if Hawkinson's usage gets mitigated, chip blocking Parsons and protecting wimpy links on the chain. Parsons scares me a bit. What is the current status of Darisaw?
He went through practice, a partial participant yesterday in a red non-contact jersey, but the fact that he was on the field is good news, and it must mean that he's gotten far enough in the concussion protocol that there's a chance he plays.
Yeah.
Right now, without a setback, I'm putting my money on him playing and Evans, who didn't practice on Thursday, not playing.
Yes, I think you're probably right about that. But yeah, I mean, Micah Parsons is one of the best players in the NFL. So if you watched back some of the second half especially, the Vikings had Dalvin Cook and TJ Hawkinson lining up on the edge as chippers before they ran routes multiple times in that game. So it's definitely part of their, stick a shoulder into an edge rusher and then, peel off and go catch a pass or whatever.
It does sound like, too, Ezekiel Elliott will play for the Cowboys for the first time after missing the last 2 weeks on the Dallas side, and he's been a shell of himself.
I no longer care.
6 years ago, I would be a little worried, but not anymore.
Tony Romo going to suit up down there, too? Going to take the suit off?
I don't know, Zeke.
Tony Dorsett.
Tony Dorsett's going
to be down there. He's good to go.
Quincy Carter.
Yeah, Michael Irvin's going to pull off his giant tie.
That was a pull.
Biggest tie knot in sports
media. Oh, God,
media.
yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah.
Very large. All right, Griffin and Armin from the University of Minnesota. We met these dudes at the Surly Purple Daily Watch Party. They're applying to be co-CEOs of student affairs at the University of Minnesota. We're both huge fans and want to congratulate you guys on being the #9 football podcast in the country, according to Apple. Griffin and Armin, thank you for spreading the word about this Purple Daily lifestyle and community. You are hereby the CEOs of student affairs at the University of Minnesota. Thank you.
Those guys are great.
Yep.
Loyal. Their entire house watches
Griffin
our
changed
show.
his profile photo on Twitter to him with Sports Dad. Just his arm around Sports Dad.
That's
Look
what
at
I
you.
do.
All your sports children.
Yep, exactly. I got a note from a guy that says, "How can you be a sports dad if you don't have kids?"
What?
I have kids.
Who are these people?
Why are you doing this? You know that I have kids.
You're making more of an influence on the world by being a sports dad to thousands of kids than that guy is. The guy has like 2 kids at home. Okay? You're making an impact on 2 people. Judd's making an impact on thousands.
Everyone on this show doesn't have a dad, okay? So like we got to lean on some dad to give us some type of advice, sports or life or whatever it is.
Yes. Okay, executive coach Jason chimes in. He's the, by the way, the official, and if this isn't official yet, it is now, Jason. You are the official executive coach of the Purple Daily Leadership Cabinet. He's a professional executive coach. I've emailed you guys multiple times stating that leadership matters. I wanted Kirk out previously, but on April 11th, I sent a note to my fantasy football friends taking back the criticism of Kirk because the new leadership of Kwesi and KOC had arrived. I am on board in full support and optimistic. I'm not saying Kirk is Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, but maybe, like all of us, when we have good leadership that is supportive, we are in a better position to thrive. I don't think too many quality quarterbacks would have thrived under Mike Zimmer. Fair.
Yeah, exactly right.
Fair points. I think we have agreed with that sentiment all along. And I'll speak for us, we have still questioned how good Kirk can be.
Yeah.
to this point, he has risen to new heights in situations. He has become more aggressive in situations where ordinarily he might turtle. A lot of great signs. Let's see what happens the rest of the way. Yes.
And I think it's important to be very clear that our opinion is driven also by the fact that Kevin O'Connell's done an outstanding job. So, like,
Awesome.
yes, Zimmer was a detriment to Kirk, but I also, if you had gone, for instance, let's just pick a name out of thin air, with Nathaniel Hackett, would Kirk be having the type of success and with this team? My guess is no. So it wasn't just important to get Kirk into a positive environment. It was very important to get him with the right guy. And so, like, O'Connell, just don't sleep on what this guy has done. To me, it's off the charts impressive.
Dylan Ray is the official chief disc golf officer of Purple Daily's leadership cabinet. He says, being this is a quiet time of the year for disc golf, I have to say I'm thankful that I have our Vikings and Purple Daily to keep my sports mind occupied. I just want to extend a thank you to you, Judd, Declan. My wife and I have been going through a very stressful but exciting time of buying our first house. You guys have helped keep me sane throughout the process. Purple Daily and Mackie and Judd are a great half-hour escape and chill session as we go through the process of buying this new house. And since you guys have a new house, I think it's time maybe for you to call Finch Home Solutions to make sure everything's on the up and up.
That is exactly right. In fact, it's perfect because Finch Home Solutions is going to give you the type of service that when they leave, you are going to say, you know what, I feel safer, because it's all about troubleshooting in old homes, electrical work in your home. It should be preventative safety. So don't wait till something's wrong. Don't wait till something is amiss. For instance, if you have flickering lights, that's not a good thing. That's not something to blow off. That is something to say, I'm going to call Finch. And the best part, Finch offering right now a free home safety inspection to all SKOR North fans. And be sure to tell Cody and his team that you heard about Finch on SKOR North. Special deals for SKOR North customers. Look at how well this is all fitting together. And now you're saying, but Judd, where do I go? Where do I go? What's the number? Well, the number is 612-357-2604. For you younger guys, though, and gals, I'm going to guess that you're saying, Judd, you old man, don't give me a phone number. Give me a website, finchhomesolutions.com. finchhomesolutions.com. Call Cody now. And as Phil just said, make sure that your house is as safe as possible.
I love how Judd narrates the thoughts of listeners while he's talking about Finch Home Solutions there, too.
And I also know that there's some who like a phone number, but there's a lot who don't want a phone number.
It's true.
They want a website, finchhomesolutions.com.
I'll give you another website, federatedinsurance.com. If you're a business owner out there and you're just looking for a little more protection, a little more security, and maybe a guiding hand to help maximize your business, Federated Insurance has been around for a long time. Founded in 1904 by a group of farmers and business owners in and around Owatonna, Minnesota, and now 100 years later, one of the most well-respected insurance companies across the United States. Federatedinsurance.com to find out more information. Federated, where it's our business to protect yours. Okay, back to the feedback. Let's go to Peter. I think it's pronounced Peter Welty for some story time here.
All right.
I love this.
Love story time.
He says, I am a wheat and soybean farmer from eastern North Dakota. I'm also a federal judge for the District of North Dakota. I'm emailing you to formally apply for the position of SKOR North. I'm going to butcher this. Consigliere?
Consigliere?
Consigliere. Okay,
Consigliere.
Yeah. Yes, the same position Robert
Tom
Duvall's
Hagen.
character had in The Godfather.
Great. Love Tom Hagen. My favorite character.
Okay. The year is, and by the way, yes, you are hereby appointed to the Purple Daily Leadership Cabinet. The year is 1977. I am 11 years old, and Super Bowl 11 featured the Raiders and our beloved Vikings. Judd, you don't really remember this game, or
I remember bits and pieces, but not super well.
Okay. So 2 weeks before the big game, I received an invitation to a birthday party. Kevin was a fellow fifth grader at Northwood Elementary School. We had 9 boys in my class, and so my parents advised that I would be attending Kevin's party. I, as an 11-year-old, politely advised them that the birthday party was the same day as Super Bowl 11, so they were simply mistaken at their belief that I would be attending Kevin's birthday party. I wanted to watch the game.
I love it.
As a fifth grader, I lost this disagreement with my parents.
Gotta cry.
I left for Kevin's party just after Brent McClanahan fumbled near the Raiders' goal line. The ease with which the Vikings drove so deep into Raiders territory gave me hope of a victory, even as my parents dragged me off to the birthday party. Who schedules birthday parties during the Super Bowl, even in the 70s?
Yeah, it's a different time period. Like, I know what you're saying, but it's not shocking. And keep in mind, that game probably started at like 2 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, and so they went to a movie and a pizza for the birthday party. Why not Super Bowl and a pizza?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. These are terrible parents back in the 70s. Since this was the 1970s, there were no iPhones for me to track the game. There weren't even VCRs or DVRs to tape it. With no other options, I just moped my way through the birthday party. At the end of the night, my dad, whose name was Bud, picked me up. After I got situated in the 1975 Chevy pickup, he asked, "Do you want to know what happened in the Vikings Super Bowl game, or would you rather read about it in Monday's paper?" I love how those were your options, basically, in the 70s. What happened in the game? Dang it.
Got to wait till I hit the doors.
Can open the paper in the morning.
Yeah.
I told him to tell me the outcome since I was sure that this was the year.
Oh, no.
Had to be the year, right? So he had watched, as a young kid, he had watched the other Super Bowls play out, and Dad ripped off the Band-Aid and said, they got creamed 32-14. It was pretty bad. Oakland even broke the record for offensive yards gained. I was crushed. Like many 11-year-olds, but very much unlike me, I burst into inconsolable tears. My dad, taken aback by my emotion, then uttered what I call the curse of Bud Welty, his dad. Quote from Dad, "Good grief, Peter. Why are you crying? They've been to 4 of the first 11 Super Bowls. They'll win one soon."
Oh.
I feel like this show is for guys like Peter, too. You know, it's a lot of younger listeners and viewers that have discovered Purple Daily, but the Peters of the world are really the ones who need a Super Bowl before they die, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And right here, I have a book that came out written by former Star Tribune columnist and Vikings beat writer Jim Klobuchar. All right, this book came out after that game. And
will the Vikings
ever win the Super Bowl?
Narrator.
An inside look at the Vikings of 1976 by Jim Klobuchar with Jeff Seaman, who was a linebacker on that team, with Jeff Seaman's journal. But think about this. This came out right after, like the year after that game. And it remains relevant in 2022.
Gosh, man, 40 whatever.
Shout out
years
Paul
old.
Black, our former colleague, who bought this for me. He saw it, texted me, and said, "Do you want this?" And I said, "Yeah, Paul, I want this."
Love it. Kirk R says, "This bend but don't break defense is getting better, and we are winning, but it's just not passing the eye test. If we don't force a turnover, we're always giving up yards and points. Giving up 50 yards and then a field goal is a win, but time of possession is important as well. Weak cover 3 zone defense. Puke." What is your current feeling about the defense right now?
They keep getting by, but I have to admit, I guess my concerns, if that's the correct word, are now turning more towards playoff games. Like, they're clearly proving that it's one of those years, and they deserve credit for this. So again, I'm not trying to take away from the Vikings. They clearly are proving that they are a playoff team, and 2, that they are finding ways to win games. And that's impressive. Defensively, can I sit here with a straight face and tell you that in a playoff game, I wouldn't be somewhat concerned? Because bend but don't break lots of times turns to, oh, whoops, it broke. So I think my concerns are more towards about what's going to be the look of this defense when the playoffs start.
Yeah, this is tough because they have been reliant on turnovers, and turnovers aren't guaranteed. The better process would be to just prevent yardage and prevent teams from traveling deep into your zone and all that stuff.
Correct.
But I also don't think the turnovers are all lucky. Like we mentioned this earlier, when Patrick Peterson puts in a ton of film study, and he's been around for a decade in the NFL, and he sniffs out a route or a concept or a trend, and he picks off a pass. That's not luck. That is skill. when Cam Dantzler rips the ball out of someone's arms, Emir Smith-Marset, to secure a win over the Chicago Bears. Is it luck? I mean, there are ball hawking defenses that understand the art of creating turnovers. I get that you can't guarantee that you're going to create 3 turnovers in a game every week.
Right.
So they're kind of fleeting. But I do think this, with Harrison Smith and Patrick Peterson and the edge rushers they have with Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter, the opportunistic defense is something that's going to carry forward more than most teams. Mm-hmm. Most teams don't have those edge rushers, that veteran safety, and that veteran cornerback, and those veteran linebackers, right? So, yes, I think at some point they can't be like the 3rd worst yards per play defense in the NFL. They have to get better at just not allowing so many yards. But I also wouldn't say that this thing's on the verge of melting down. I mean, they're a top 12 scoring defense this late into the season. There's a reason for that. That's my take.
Dex?
Well, I would say it comes down to the pressure. If Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter continue to get after the quarterback, then I feel good about the defense. Like, obviously, Cam Dantzler's injury, I know he's tracking to return, I believe, by the Lions game, which is big. Like, you don't want to be without your top cornerback when the playoffs roll around in about 6 weeks or so. But I would also just say the pressure rate, getting after the quarterback at an absurd rate, which Zadarius Smith has been doing all season, if that continues, then I like their chances. If they can't figure out ways to pressure the quarterback, they're going to get absolutely gashed, and that would be what I'd be worried about.
Before we get to a couple more here on Purple Daily, so this is Give to the Max week all across. That's more than a Minnesota thing, right? That's kind of all across the country. Just Give to the Max Day on Thursday, or whatever. But so 8 years ago this week, Mike Schoonover's family suffered an unspeakable tragedy when his son, who was a young high school hockey player, passed away on the ice from a rare heart condition that just went undetected for his whole life. And so that Patrick Schoonover was his name. And so ever since then, over the past 8 years, Mike and his family, who created the Patrick Schoonover Heart Foundation, their mission has been to help identify heart defects in kids 14 to 24. And the foundation provides free heart screens for kids of that age range, 14 to 24. Our goal was to raise $1,000 at SKOR North this week, and Mike was going to match that. Well, we're already up to almost $3,000, so thank you to the audience. We talked about this on Mackie and Judd earlier in the week. I think this is the first time we're talking about it on Purple Daily, but this is something we're getting behind here and something that we feel passionate about. So if you have even $15 or $20 or $100 or whatever it is that you have to give, the website is givemn.org/SKOR for Patrick. That's SKOR for Patrick. Givemn.org/SKOR for Patrick to help raise money to support heart screens for kids 14 to 24. So, again, thank you to everyone who's helped us raise a few $1,000s for that cause. We greatly appreciate it. A few more here on Feedback Friday, Purple Daily. David Bruss says, after the Buffalo game, I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid. The story is building steam. Kirk Cousins for most valuable player.
You like that on 3, 1, 2, 3. You like that? You like that? You like that?
What needs to happen?
Whoa.
He's not there yet.
Oh, I don't.
He's not there yet. It's not.
I don't.
His statistics are nowhere near the level they need to be at overall. So stats for MVP, stats do matter. They do matter.
They absolutely do, and I don't think that, like, it doesn't feel like outside of this market people necessarily get that. I think that this is probably too strong, but it feels like there are some folks who probably are pretty important among the AP MVP voters feel that the Vikings at times are winning in spite of Kirk because the stats aren't great.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest right now. I think if you did a vote of MVP candidates with all of the people that do vote, I think Justin Jefferson is above Kirk in their balloting.
Yeah, I think that's so. The odds, Kirk is still higher up on the odds lists for most sports
because he's
books.
Quarterback, right?
Yep.
But don't you think
yes,
that's?
I agree.
Like we talked about, what's everybody talking about off that Vikings-Bills game? Jefferson's catch and Jefferson's game. So yeah, the Kirk's team is great. It's fun, and Kirk has played really well when it matters most. I personally don't think he is anywhere near the actual MVP race.
Kirk is doing a really good job of sort of riding the rising tide here with the rest of the team. Feels like the team is elevated. Kevin O'Connell has breathed life into this thing. Offensive line is better. Jefferson's doing ridiculous things. The defense is opportunistic. And there's been most games Kirk has disappeared or has played poorly for long portions of time, but then comes roaring back at the end. I think for you to be an MVP, you got to do both things. You got to just you got to put up like 40 touchdowns and 4,500 yards and all that stuff. And there's still time for him to stockpile some of those stats, but I am much more interested, as we talked about yesterday, in what he's doing now, which is rising up in the high leverage moments of these games. If the other stuff comes along with it to create some wider separation in these wins, perfect. But they're winning games because he's been rising up in high leverage spots. Largely.
And we've seen Kirk stats before. Kirk Cousins, statistical master, right? I mean, look at the numbers. And you know what? That's a quarterback who is good, but his teams are 8-9, 9-8. So I will take a guy that can win. But Phil, I think you're exactly right, which is the MVP is not going to be, especially not in 2022 when we are driven by statistics. It's not going to be a guy that wins, but his stats are probably average, and for him, they're deemed to not be nearly as good as what his career says they can be.
Yeah. Let's see here. Frank Bella chimes in. My name is Frank Bella, and I am a college professor of the humanities in New York City.
Hi, Frank.
I'm a lifelong Vikings fan and a lifelong resident of New York City. Long story. Anyways, during the summer when you guys were doing various shows on Vikings history, I spent 3 weeks trying to contact Judd and Phil to do my podcast, to come on my podcast. I had written a 5,000-word treatise on why the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl. A 5,000-word essay on why the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl. I contacted them on every social media and also on the SKOR North website contact page where one is promised a reply of some kind. I never received the courtesy of any reply of any kind from any one of these places. So are the people who are responsible for this just unprofessional or incompetent? Frank!
But they might be both.
Or are you just snobs erroneously thinking you are too big to do a lowly podcast of mine? Nevertheless, much love and prayers to Phil on the loss of his beloved father and to Judd on his recovery from COVID. Family and health supersede all else. Frank coming in hot here. Frank, I'm sorry, man. I will say this. If you sent a 5,000-word essay, there's no chance I'm going to read 5,000 words. I'm just going to say it. And that applies to almost everything. I'm probably not reading 5,000 words. So if you could send a summary of it, like bullet points, give us like the five highlighted bullet points from the 5,000-word essay, and I promise I will read it. Email it through the feedback tab in the SKOR North app, and we'll even read it on the show. But attacking us for not coming on your podcast and reading your 5,000-word essay is not the best way. No. It's not the best path forward.
But you don't have to.
Thank you for the kind words about my dad.
We could be both unprofessional and incompetent.
We definitely are. Yes.
Don't make it an or, Frank. We could very well be both.
And don't judge us for being unprofessional and incompetent. We are here we are a representative of those who are unprofessional and incompetent. Okay, people need representation, and we are providing that for the incompetent. So, Frank, I don't know. Sorry, I don't remember seeing this. I'm sorry. If you could sum it up, send it. We can read it on the show. But we can't read 5,000 words on the show.
But he still might want a podcast appearance. And the question is, are you going to be unprofessional and incompetent and not go on the podcast?
I don't know. If I have some time, I might be able to jump on the podcast. We'll see. I'm just waiting around to jump on a random podcast. I'm sure you are too. But yes, Frank, send over the summary. We will read it on the show. We promise.
Sorry, Frank.
Okay. Chris Manson says, I saw the Vikings field access video and thought it was really interesting. You see Harrison Phillips tell the rest of the defensive line before the Buffalo game, win this one for me. And then Brian O'Neill gives the offensive line a pep talk. Not enough is made of the veteran leadership on this team. Every position group has guys with experience being among the best in the league at what they do, keeping others accountable. It is very true. Brian O'Neill, veteran. He's now a veteran. He's like, what, year 4 in the league or 5 or whatever it is. And he's like the only real like quality veteran in terms of a guy who's credibly been around for like 5 years on the offensive line. Then you got Kendricks and Hicks as linebackers. You got Patrick Peterson, Harrison Smith among the defensive backs. Adam Thielen, the veteran wide receiver, Dalvin.
With Harrison Phillips. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. And they've done a great job. I think the thing about Peterson that impresses you is, I mean, here's a guy deep
here's a guy
into his career. Here's a guy deep into his career who is spending, hours of film study, taking notes, and inviting the rest of the secondary, or at least the corners, to his house to do additional study too. That's a hell of a, if you're a, Cam Dantzler or a young cornerback, that's a pretty damn good thing to see.
Yeah. Yes, it is
professionalism.
And it's one thing if you've got a bunch of leaders and professionals, but they're not that good.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of these guys, if not all of them, are playing at a really high level too. So it's not surprising when you have veterans all over the place and a coach that gets the team together and a scheme that makes sense. It's not surprising you would, win close games and persevere in the end. So, all right, that's your bin for this episode of Purple Daily of
Sorry, Frank.
Feedback. You are incompetent.
Phil and Declan do suck, Frank, but
come on my podcast.
I can't say that.
But sorry for your loss, Phil. Judd, I hope I didn't know you had COVID again. Did you have COVID again, Judd?
No.
Did you just have a nasty cough like all of us have had for like a month?
Judd seems like he has COVID a lot. Just
a month. I've had this cough. No, in fact I think my one battle with COVID was last December. So no, I just have this cough that won't go away.
I had COVID. Maybe that's what it is. I had COVID.
You lost your father,
and then my
COVID,
dad died.
Yeah.
And then I had. Then we had thick smoke for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Triggered all my allergies and stuff. So
and Dex has had COVID twice, right?
I've had COVID twice. And then I woke up very sick the day before I proposed and thought I wasn't going to be able to do it. And her best friend was flying into town. And when she texted me, "Hey, how you feeling?" I thought she was genuinely asking me about because I was sick. And she was like, "No, how are you feeling about you're about to propose this evening?" And she misinterpreted it as how are you feeling for the proposal, where I was thinking she was asking about my sickness. But I powered through. Shout out to
she's like, "I don't care that you have a 105 fever and you're in urgent care right now. How do you feel about proposing tomorrow from a hospital bed?"
Yikes.
Anyhow. Thank you guys for all the great questions, all the comments here. We try to get to as many as we can, so hit us up throughout the week on the feedback tab of the SKOR North app. We also take stuff from Twitter and the YouTube comments as well. And then Vikings Vent Line right after Vikings and Cowboys finish up this weekend. This has been Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment.